Hello everybody and welcome to patch 9.05 of Shadowlands. It's the first of its kind as we ramp full into the expansion, and with it some welcome changes, including Valor Points and Mailboxes and Oribos. However, the most important for us is the buffs to the legendaries for Fire Mages, specifically Disciplinary Command. Now, Disciplinary Command receives a pretty significant buff, putting it a cut above the other legendaries, including Fevered Incantation. So if you're wondering if you should switch, you should. It looks difficult to use, but it's not terrible, and I'll get into how to use it in this guide. Now, the way that Disciplinary Command works is by if you cast a spell of every major spell school that mages have, that being Frost, Fire, and Arcane, within 10 seconds of one another, you will get increased critical strike damage by 20% for 20 seconds. This is only on a 30-second cooldown, so it can be activated fairly often. And you might think that this is kind of a difficult thing to proc, but you'd be surprised at how many of our spells count as Arcane, so the only one we really have to fish for is Frost. Unless you're a Void Elf, in that case I'll get into later. Now, if for whatever reason you don't have Disciplinary Command yet, it drops on the second boss in Mysterious Scythe, and the drop chance increases with the difficulty level. Now, as far as what slot you're going to want to apply it to, it's going to be your ring slot. That's because it has the most stats. So you're going to want to run to the auction house and grab yourself a Shadowghast ring. Make sure it's the eye level 235 one. I'll quickly go over the non-fire spells that we have to cast in order to activate this legendary. The most convenient of which is Rune of Power. This will give us an arcane activation, which really fits well into our rotation. On top of that, Combustion gives us a free Rune of Power, so that's a really convenient way to activate both arcane and fire at the same time. The other ways to activate the arcane is Shimmer, Counterspell, which is our Interrupt, Arcane Explosion, and even Diverted Energy, which is a conduit that you can use in your Endurance slot, which will heal you when you take damage and have your shield up. Anytime you're healed, that will give an arcane proc. Secondly, we have Frost. A good way to activate this is Frost Nova. It's something to cast on the move. However, it doesn't contribute as much damage. So ideally, when you have time, you're going to want to cast Frostbolt to activate Frost, because this will contribute damage to make it worth it. So the way you want to work this into your opener is not too different from what you already do pre-pull, except you're going to get a Frost Nova before your hard-casted Pyroblast. So when the pull timer goes out, at about 5 seconds, you're going to want a Frost Nova, and then hard-cast Pyroblast, and following that, you can do your normal Combustion opener. And there you go. I have Disciplinary Command active. I'll have it active for the entire duration of my Combust, increasing every crit by 20% damage. Now, as far as things go in combat, you're always going to want to have your Legendary up for every Combustion that you do. You can also activate it between Combusts, however, this is only a few % drop off if you don't do this. So if you're still getting used to things, don't worry. We're still going to want to use Frost as our catalyst, so we can use Frost Nova like we did for Prepull, if you can't stand still. But if you can, Frostbolt's better, as it contributes better to DPS. For the arcane side of things, Counterspell is an instant way to activate your arcane proc off GCD. However, Rune of Power synergizes pretty well. So does Shimmer, Arcane Explosion, and Mirror Image. I usually use Rune of Power. Now, you may have seen me using a WeakAura for all of this, which tracks which spell schools have activated within the allotted time. So it's just blue for Frost, a pinkish color for Arcane, and then red for Fire. Now, if you were to activate all three, it'll tell you how long you have for the Legendary being up, and then after that, it'll tell you the cooldown. It's definitely a WeakAura I'd recommend getting, and I have it down in the description below if you want it. Just a note for any Void Elf mages out there, you do have a racial passive that causes Shadow Frost damage occasionally, which does count for the Frost School. Since the Frost School is our catalyst for activating this legendary, you will accidentally activate this legendary fairly often. And for that reason, if you're Void Elf, it's recommended to stay with Fevered Incantation, or just accept that you will sometimes just activate this legendary when you don't mean to. Alright, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. If anything becomes outdated, I'll be sure to note it in the description. And have a great day.